Concerning the personal aspects of Lara Croft, would you say that this version of her, of Legend and Underworld, is somewhat different from the course games? Because at the beginning, she would collect the artifacts for herself. What wouldn't make of her so much of an heroine? She wasn't Indiana Jones. But contrasting with the other games on Legend, at the end, she talks about giving Excalibur to a museum. So this was something that you guys sit and talk about, or it happened naturally, this little change of personality?
Yes, there's always the argument about whether or not Lara Croft is a villain or a good guy. I've always said that she's a villain, but there's a lot of people who believe that she's a hero rather than an anti-hero. At the end of the day, corporations make their decisions, right? And there you go.
So let's say she's a heroine, right? Maybe a lot of fans haven't realized it yet, but due to this new reboot, we're never going to see again a story of Tomb Raider like in the older days. Maybe this has been the truth for some time, but anyway, now that the trilogy won't be continued, could you tell us what you had for what would come after Underworld, with the manor destroyed, Alistair dead, parents' arc solved?
No, we weren't really thinking about it. I mean, we were just trying to finish off what we'd already started. We just wanted to kind of bring that whole thing to a close. It seemed like a fairly unfair thing to do, to just leave everybody hanging without ever actually answering any of the questions that have been brought up in Legend. And that's what the goal of Underworld was. So, I mean, there wasn't really so much about what the next thing would be. I think it was meant to be standalone, so that job was done.
It seems like you're a guy that runs away from spotlights. Despite having worked with Tomb Raider in so many levels, there's few images and videos about you on the internet. So, how is your relationship with the press, and what do you think about it?
With who? The press. Oh, it's the press. Yeah, it's so. I don't really normally like doing interviews. I prefer my work to speak for itself, but occasionally I don't mind. But generally speaking, it's I don't really see. I don't know that there's a lot of point in it because. Yeah, I think hopefully your work should speak for itself. That's what I hope.
I've read some really interesting things on your personal blog these days. One of them was a strip where you complain about how difficult it is today to sell ideas.
Yeah.
That one was pretty good. Other one was a post called Numbers, where you said that magic existed on our reality and today was money. But the one that really interested me was the one where you explained how the things among publisher, studios and employers worked. And well, I didn't know it worked that way. It seems that there's no respect at all. So do you think that there will be any changes? There's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes. So I actually think that the main games industry is falling apart. I think that we're looking at a situation where there's so few games that make any money, and they cost so much to make that the entire industry, is on the verge of a collapse of some kind that will leave only the largest and most powerful developers and publishers in existence. And I think that what's going on, or what we're seeing a move on the audience's part to cheaper mobile and social entertainment spaces where they can get what they feel is a better value for money, and a main games industry that basically is no longer really creating anything except very bad games and extraordinarily expensive, extraordinarily polished games, but a very small number of them. And I don't think that the industry is going to be able to survive fully like that. So I think that we're going to be looking at a move towards mobile gaming and social gaming, and away from like the extraordinarily high budget gaming, which means I think probably a move away from photorealism, which means probably making games that are somewhat more casual to get a wider audience, because the main hardcore audience that is the console audience, which isn't able to support the game industry because they generally like to rent their games these days, or you know, buy used games. They basically they can't support a cheap game industry like a mobile game industry. So I think we're looking at a really strange and quite massive fundamental shift in what the games industry is going to look like in the future. Yeah.
On your blog, I've also read a text about piracy. I looked for part 2, and then I noticed that you hadn't written it. It's a very interesting text, even more interesting for us here in Brazil, where piracy, unfortunately, it's practically part of the culture. So, what, in your opinion, the companies could do to decrease piracy, including developing countries?
I don't think that you stand much chance. I mean, that's kind of where I was really going with that, is that I don't really believe that there is a future for copyright. I think that ideas are. I don't think you'll be able to own them in the future. I don't think you can own ideas. I think that once I have an idea and I make an image of it, and it's a digital image, I don't think that I can own that anymore, because once it's out, it's out. I think the whole concept of copywriting digital media that can be instantly copied is crazy. So I think that the only way that people are going to be able to make money off of ideas in the future is through it's going to be through creating a service, like an ongoing service. So anything that's a periodic thing you have to pay to get hold of rapidly, or anything that you something like World of Warcraft, where essentially you can't really play it without a back end. It's stuff like that. But I think that anything that's non-interactive, anything that could be copied in any way, I honestly don't think there's a future for trying to, keep control of that. I don't, and I think that's going to mean, that we're all going to have proper jobs. We're going to have to get haircuts and get proper jobs, because I don't think you'll be able to make a lot of money as a musician or an artist in the future. I think it's a hobby that people will have to do.
Right. Well, that's sad.
Yeah.
So now let's talk a little about the controversies, community, fans. During the promotion of Legend and Underworld, have you visited any forums? Do you used to listen more to the critics of the fans or of the press? And how do you react to criticism?
Well, I mean, when it comes to a gigantic game like Underworld or anything else like that, there's so many people, there's so many cooks that you can't take it personally, because virtually nothing in the game can be attributed to any one person. It's an enormous group effort, right? And so it's I don't know that you can. I mean, there's obviously you go on the forums and there's people who will point fingers directly at individuals and say that and say horrible things about them, but that's okay, because those people basically don't really know what happened anyway, and there's really nothing you could say to them to change their minds anyway. So there you go. It's just the way it goes. But generally speaking, I don't. There's not an awful lot of point in sitting there and worrying about that kind of feedback.
Oh, right. Now let's talk about this rivalry between Tomb Raider and Uncharted. Recently, there's been lots of comparison between these two games, at least among the press, among the public in general. Uncharted has been much more successful. So, what do you think is the reason of the success of Uncharted?
What is the reason for the success of Uncharted? Because it's brilliant, I suppose. It's really, really good. They're an amazingly good development team, and they have a creative director who's a fabulous writer in Amy Hennig, and they have, they just done everything right. Like, it's excellent, isn't it? I mean, and not only that, but they also use an awesome archetype, the Han Solo archetype, to create their character, which is brilliant. Everyone loves that one. And I don't know, they've been innovating excellently. Well, how can you really go wrong with something? I mean, they're top of the game, aren't they? Good for them.
Well, to be honest, I've never played Uncharted, but I've seen videos and it really looks really good. But mostly among the fans of Tomb Raider, there's that thing that they're imitating Tomb Raider because of this or that, and
Right, I see. Well, it's somewhat different, but they both go after artifacts, I suppose.
So, with the releasing of Tomb Raider level editor back in 2000, fans were able to make their own levels of Tomb Raider, and most important, without having to care about money. So, have you already checked some of this material produced by the fans? Not just levels, but fanfics, fan arts,
I've seen a lot of fan art, obviously. There's some amazing stuff. I'm always amazed at the amount of energy and time that the fans put into Tomb Raider, and I think it's fabulous that they like it so much. They love it so much.
Yeah, I think it's really amazing because the game has almost 15 years, and the fans continue to produce more and more things about the series. This is really incredible. So, about the movies, have you seen any of the movies about Tomb Raider? What did you think about them?
I thought the first one was all right. For a Hollywood movie adaptation of the character, it wasn't. It could have been a lot worse. And then the second one was a lot worse. And I think they missed a point of the character by making her come across as arrogant, and I think that's one of the big mistakes that you can make with the character. And I don't think that the character should be portrayed as arrogant, and so therefore the film didn't work for me.
But you don't take it personal when you see these things happening to the character, because you created the character. So how do you feel when you see these kind of things?
Well, I've had a long time to become separated from Lara, right? I mean, even though I returned to Crystal to work on the Tomb Raider games, I've never been in control of it since the very first one, right? I am separated from the character, and I have to be, right? Because it's far too painful to see and continue to get frustrated or anything else. If I didn't emotionally separate, it would just be insane, an insanely unpleasant 15 years. So I am separated from that character. So when I see weird things happening, I don't respond emotionally to it anymore.
But it was hard, or you left core, and on the other day you were right, that's over now, and
yes, then it was very hard.
And do you believe they should keep on trying to make a new movie? Because I think it was last year there was some rumors about they're trying to get Megan Fox into a new production, and have you heard that?
Yeah, I heard that one. Rumor.
So, personally, do you think they should keep on trying to?
I don't know,
if it's good?
Yeah, exactly. If it's good, it would be fun, wouldn't it?
So what about what Toby Gard does now? We saw you on a consulting games company called Focal Point Games.
Yeah.
And is it somewhat easier to just give consoles than participating into the production? Because if you give in bad advice, they're going to blame you, aren't they?
Yes, that's true. Yeah. You have to make sure you're not giving bad advice. Yeah, that's the idea. You don't give bad advice, and then you're all right. Hopefully.
And it's just me, but your company's logo reminds a little of the skin of Tomb Raider 1.
Oh, really?
What was it?
I didn't mean that intentionally. If that's the case, it wasn't the plan.
Besides the company, what are the other things you're working on?
Well, the main thing I'm working on at the moment is the Otherworld comic. I guess having been frustrated with the inability to be able to create any kind of anything pure these days, anything that is both epic, but also doesn't go through a committee of people deciding what it should be like. Basically, I wanted to create something new, but I didn't have any kind of outlet to do that, and so I decided that creating like a long form comic, which is theotherworldcomic.com, was the way to do it. And so I've been working extremely hard on that. I do like 5 to 10 pages a week, and it's a really long, big story, a massive, hopefully impressive universe and some really cool characters. And I'm hoping that if people go along and they read it and they enjoy it, and I get a lot of people liking it on Facebook and all of that, then eventually I'll be able to take along all that and show people, the fans, and go, look, people actually like this, and why don't we make a game on it? Why don't we make a game of it, and not a compromise game, but like a really awesome game on this, about this? And that's what I hope to do.
And could you tell what's this story about to the people who don't know?
Yeah, sure. Otherworld is basically I kind of describe it as Akira meets the Chronicles of Narnia. It's a modern day urban fantasy story based around the Celtic legends, so the Irish folk tales. And it's kind of a conspiracy theory meets fantasy otherworld type scenario, and it's pretty hardcore, and it's a bit more mature than most web comics, and
that's nice.
I think so, yeah. So it doesn't stray away from some sexual themes and some violence and some pretty difficult drama, and but at the same time it's an adventure, and it's exciting, and it's pretty cool. So I'm hoping that there's stuff there for everybody.
And how is it going? Are you receiving a lot of comments? The people are enjoying it?
Well, it's just only I only started it in like the very, very, very beginning of December. So it's only been going for a month, almost 2 months now. And it's only just started to receive a little bit of press. So up until now, I've really just been I've just been publishing it for myself, because no one really knows that it's even there. So I think it's just beginning. The ball is just beginning to get rolling, and maybe, hopefully, some people listening will go along and check it out, and hopefully some other people. I think the Tomb Raider forums found it this week, so maybe I'll get some more visitors that way too.
Well, now some quick ones, just for curiosity. What are the best games you played last year?
My favorite game this last year, 2010. Oh my god, Assassin's Creed 2. I think I can probably. I'm gonna have to just stick with the one. Assassin's Creed was the best game I played. I played a few games, but none of them really blew me away. So.
Okay, favorite movies.
Favorite movies. I really enjoyed Scott Pilgrim, and And I haven't been watching a lot of movies either.
And what about bands? Have you been listening to music?
Yeah, well, I seem to be gravitating towards electro music these days, and Lemon Jelly and Bonobo, and I don't know what else, stuff like that. I guess I got the new Massive Attack album. That's really old school.
That's fun because I always thought of you as I don't know that you listen something very hippie.
No, yeah, I haven't been doing a lot. Wax Taylor, I suppose, I got recently, and the Cinematic Orchestra. That's another one I quite like at the moment.
And hobbies. Are you good at, I don't know, martial arts, cooking, taming dogs?
What you mean, like tiger wrestling or something?
Yeah, right.
Not really. No, my hobby is doing this comic, man. I get this comic out there, get people excited and reading it and saying how awesome it is, and running around telling everybody that we should make a game of it. That's my hobby.
Well, so let's end here. Thank you so much for this interview, Toby. Any last considerations?
No, thank you very much for the interview. It's good.
Oh, good then. Bom, pessoal, é isso aí. A gente vai encerrando o podcast por aqui. Muito obrigado, Diego, pela oportunidade. Thank you, Toby. Thank you again. É isso aí. Continue ligado no Lara Croft para mais conteúdos, podcasts, etc. Falou, pessoal. This isn't part of the interview, but Eric Lindstrom, do you have any news about him? Is he alive at least?
Yeah, he was working at, last I heard, he was working at an iPhone game company as their creative director. Well, that was when that's when I wanted to get into games. I mean, I started really? Yeah, angry. Just a moment. Can we pause for a little while?
Right, no problem.
Okay, all right. Hang on 1 second. I gotta give this guy some food. Right.